What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Avenue A. I am your host, Kelsey Bentz. I feel like I'm having some lag issues. Does it seem laggy to you at all? Okay. Just had to check in with my producer. Welcome to Avenue A. Happy Friday. Thanks for being here. Today is really exciting because it's actually our 10th episode today, which means that I've been doing Avenue A for 10 weeks. This is our 10th week, which is wild to think about because I started the show the week after I graduated college, which feels like yesterday, but also a million years ago. I don't really know what time is right now, but it's our 10th week, so yay. Kind of celebrating that, and the guest we have on today for our 10th episode is gonna be a blast, I think. I'm excited. So thanks for being here. Drop a comment in the comment section if you're watching. I'd love to see who's there and say hi. And for those of you who might be tuning in for the first time, Avenue A is a platform that I created to talk to artists, fellow artists in the artistic and acting community specifically, about their experiences with acting, networking, and the industry. And the goal of the show is to connect with and uplift my fellow artists and just see what people are up to and what they're doing and how they're doing it. So yeah, it's really fun, and we meet every Friday. So today, I'm really excited. Let's jump right in. So my guest today, his name is Louis Reyes Chaves. And Louie and I met on the show Promenade, which I know I've talked about a lot because my last two guests I met doing Promenade. But Louie was the choreographer for Promenade, so he did all of the formations and the dances and all of that. He choreographed the show. So it was really fun to meet with him and work with him in March, and he's here with us today. So I'm going to introduce him and then bring him on. So a little bit about Louie. His pronouns are he, him, his, and he's an artist born and raised in Culver City, California. He began doing children's musical theater at age 13 and went on to perform, choreograph, and direct in over 15 of their local productions, take part in curating an original dance training intensive, and act as the operations manager that equates to a 10-year-long commitment to this delightful company called Delightful Productions. Here, he found his love for wearing many hats in the arts and went on to attend the Academy of Visual and Performing Arts for high school in Los Angeles as a dance and theater double major, specializing in acting and modern dance. In addition to the recognition from his high school peers and teachers, Louis was also awarded Best Actor for his dramatic role as Matthew Shepard in The Laramie Project and was granted a college scholarship from the California Educational Theater Association for his comedic senior monologue from The Actor's Nightmare. After graduating high school, Louis became a founding member of the Los Angeles-based theater company named Skitco, and then attended UCSD for 1 year to study contemporary dance before he transferred to Pace University in NYC, where he earned his BFA in commercial dance with a concentration in choreography. During college, Louis became a teaching artist for establishments like the Public Theater, and he also assisted Broadway choreographers like Chase Brock from Be More Chill and Lorin Latarro from Waitress. Following college, some performance credits include original ensemble in The Secret Silk, Stephen Schwartz, Trevor in Trevor the Musical, Dance Lab New York, Julio in Ode to Pablo, in Ode to Pablo, PBS, Dancer in Only Human, the Jonas Brothers music video, and a lead in Love Takes Five, the Panda Express commercial, and more. Additionally, as a creative, Louis has directed and choreographed for independent singer-songwriters like Maddie Vogel and Lorena Lee, won Best Talent for 2 drag pageant production numbers, Miss America 2018 and Miss Hell's Kitchen 2019, and has collaborated with many former RuPaul Drag Race contestants, including Alaska Thunderfuck, Trixie Mattel and Laganja Estranja. Love her. Currently represented by MSA Agency in LA and NYC, Louis experiments with music, poetry, editing, and photography in his spare time. With experience on stage and off, Louis aims to make his career about creating art that challenges the status quo and celebrates radical inclusion through multimedia collaboration. So, without further ado, let's bring on Louis.
Hi. Such a long intro, but there it is.
There it is.
That's my
life.
life.
The breakdown of you. I love it.
Yeah. God, it's weird how much, I don't know, time flies.
I bet, yeah.
How are you?
I'm okay. I'm here, and I'm happy to be here. It's almost the end of my week. I'm working full-time from home, so Saturday is my Friday. So today is like Thursday for me. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I'm close to the weekend.
What do you do for work from home?
I actually work at a company called StreamYard, which is the platform that we're streaming on right now. So I work in their customer success department.
Cool. Nice.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for being on the show today. We're so glad to have you.
Thank you for having me. What's up? We're all home. A lot of us are home. Some of us are working. So those we're grateful for, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And
you recently relocated to LA, right? You were in New York and now you're in LA.
Yeah, so I was in New York. Actually, it's so funny. Like when the show ended, my sublet, I was living in Washington Heights and my sublet ended, and I was like trying to figure out what to do. And then obviously people were starting to stay home and, suspect, what is this COVID thing? So I talked to my mom about it, and so I just flew home and I stayed there for a little bit. But yeah, now I'm pretty much going to be based here for the end of the year, which is nice. It's I love New York, but it is a good break, and there's a lot of people, friends, colleagues, everything on this coast I haven't seen in a while, so that's exciting too. So,
that's nice. Yeah. And you mentioned your agency is bi-coastal, so you can
It's a good, I didn't realize at first how nice that was. And now I'm like, okay, that actually comes in handy right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to talk to you because, at the end of the bio that I read, you talk specifically about inclusivity in the arts and how you really strive to make that a part of your artistic practice, and part of your mission. So how is sort of celebrating radical inclusion, as you put it, in your work, how does that inform your artistic practice?
It pretty much drives it, because I don't think I would be an artist if I didn't realize the power of inclusion when I first started. Because I didn't start in any kind of like prestigious training program kind of way. Literally, like, it was community theater. I was very closeted and shy, and I was in such a weird time. I was in middle school, which is a fun time for many people.
Not my favorite.
I mean, hey, I had some good skater fashion at one point, but no, it was a really hard time, and I didn't feel welcome in a lot of places. I was, in some ways, I felt too Mexican to hang out with white people, and I felt too what people would call whitewashed to hang out with anybody of color. So like, I don't know, it just was a really confusing time. And basically by doing theater and at first being so thrown out of my comfort zone and kind of like almost hating it, it became the avenue. Like after I started to feel like I was somewhat worthy of having a voice, of having, just like a community, then I did better in school. I like everything in my life became better. So I really owe it to the founder of this company, Delightful Productions. They're still doing productions in Culver City, but she really, in some ways, like I guess you can say, like scouted me, but not even like that. She basically like spiritually, like scouted me. She was a really wonderful kind of mentor for me for a long time because the entire scope of that whole company is non-competitive arts education, and it's just about putting on a show literally for the community. It's not about let's see how high I can kick and who's going to get the lead. Everybody gets a part. Everybody is treated equally, and so that environment, even growing up, to be honest, I didn't experience that even in my home. So to feel that in a room where people were just respected for being who they were, I was like, so that is what I feel like started me as an artist. And, as much as we're obsessed now with like, oh, what are your credits? And like, where'd you go to school? It's like, the truth is that none of that shit matters. Like, I don't think you can, I don't know. I just don't think art is worth making if people don't feel empowered and good while they're doing it. And so for me too, I've had to leave certain jobs or situations. I even dropped out of school for a little while because you need to hold on to why you're doing this. Otherwise, you're going to take jobs just because it's a good paycheck. And, a year later, you're like, why am I so sad? You know what I mean? It's like, well,
Amen.
Mom, like you. But yeah, so I would say that's where it started. And I kind of have, it's been a goal of mine to make it as a through line. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about how you make that a through line in your work? Like, in what ways does it enrich your practice?
I mean, everything. Like, what's really nice is I don't necessarily teach as much as I used to. And that's mostly because I take it very seriously in the sense of like, the people that I work with, whoever they are, whether they're older, whether they're younger, my age, they're my muse. And so I'm so connected to them emotionally when I'm in front of them, when I go home and I'm reflecting about the day, when I'm thinking about, casting and everything. And like, I mean, just right off the bat, anytime I've had a say in casting, I never want to, I constantly try to step back and be like, what is the bias that's happening? And especially for me, like I've been into so many musical theater auditions. I love musical theater, but I mean, God, I can't even explain to you how frustrating it is sometimes being in a situation where there's literally like 3 people of color in the room, me included, and I am very white passing. And so just starting from casting, like if I'm casting a dance, if I'm casting a show, it is on my mind that I'm like, are we, if there's all these women or if there are all these men or if everyone seems like they're coming from the same background or whatever, I try to separate too, like education from being smart. So like, for instance, like if someone has a bunch of credentials, but in my opinion, I don't really like their vibe and they seem maybe, someone I don't want to work with, I don't care where you went to school. But if someone learned how to dance in their backyard, like watching TV or like, with their friends at the park, like, and they're amazing to work with, I'm going to work with them. So it's just that as well, trying to like, you don't have to have any kind of education to feel or to be worthy of being in a really important spot, which is, in a cast or whatever.
I just got chills when you said that. And then that's like, literally, that's something I want to like shout from the rooftops. And I wish that I had really embraced what you're talking about before school, because I mean, I got an amazing education. I went to NYU, and I loved
Mm-hmm.
it, and I learned literally so much there. But honestly, one of the biggest things that I came away with from the acting program at NYU was that I have pretty good instincts, and I just wasn't trusting them. And so
Mm-hmm.
like what I learned at school was like how to trust my own instincts, but it wasn't like I didn't know how to do a lot of it before. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And so I love what you talk about, it's not necessary to have that degree. Like that doesn't make or break you.
No,
And
it's cool
everyone
if
has
you
a
want to, but it's you
yeah.
know, because I trust me, I was in a time where I mean, I act like it's like I'm. It was like 10 years ago, but back in the day, everybody was very stressed about getting into a good college.
Yeah.
And that was literally like my biggest goal. And when I got into school, it was like, oh my God, cross the finish line like slow motion. But then I went through such really like I just
Yeah.
felt so proud of myself. I was just like, wow, like none of my family besides my older brother graduated from college. And it was a big deal. Like my grandparents I'm second generation. And so them especially, I think I am, or it's third. I'm sorry, I don't know. My grandparents came here when they were really little, and I always, but anyway,
Sure.
it was a big thing for me. But afterwards, I went through such a huge, I guess you can call it just depression, because I was in school my first year of college in San Diego, which has an amazing program, by the way. Their dance and theater program is like, mwah. It's where La Jolla Playhouse is. And so they
Yeah.
have a lot of like shows there before they go to Broadway or whatever. But no, just really cool work. But regardless of, of that, I just like, I don't know. I just didn't know what to do next. And it really was like, is that all there is? Like it was, I don't know. I didn't realize that I would feel so like doubtful about even wanting to go to school when that was like my only goal for my entire teen years. So, but I am glad I went, because I did have a lot of time to learn from other people, and also learn what I don't want anymore. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think what you said, going back a little bit about someone's vibe and like the way they walk in the room, like I think that's huge, and I hear a lot of people talk about that when it comes to auditioning, and whether they're behind the table or they're the one auditioning, like
Yeah.
everyone can feel each other, and when someone comes in and maybe they have a stacked resume and they have really good training or whatever, but they have kind of a shitty vibe, like maybe they'll work a little, but honestly, like the energy that you bring into the room, I think, is everything. And yeah, like it's even more, in my opinion, it matters more than the credits maybe on your resume. Everyone might have a different opinion about that,
Right.
but like if you're a cool
it's
person,
to each their own.
right, if you're a cool person, in my opinion, and people want to work with you, like that'll get you far.
Yeah, and it depends on what you're doing. If it's like
Sure.
a thing that's like you're gonna have one rehearsal and then you are filming it or doing it live for this thing, it's like in that situation, if you're behind the table or even if you're auditioning, it's really about it feels more like business at that point, where it's like, okay, who's gonna actually do this, not who can do this, because we got to do this, but the truth is I know a lot of peers and colleagues and a lot of different kinds of people who are on Broadway, people who are wonderful teachers, like whatever their world is. It's just, I just remember like at one point being in a dance, and this one dancer who's so great, like would never understand that when we were in formations, he would always somehow wind up in the front. You know what I mean? Like, and like everyone was very like, just kind of ignored it. But that specific dance, I was the dance captain of it. And it was like kind of my job to be like, hey, like you got at this, I tried to be professional about it, but I could tell what was happening, and it's a subconscious thing. And it's what happens a lot in auditions. And so the more that you audition and start to get to know people's personalities, the better, because you can get really thrown off by that kind of energy, even as a peer. And so like, especially when I go to auditions, I'm not trying to have a good vibe for myself most of the time. It's like, I want to have a good vibe for the dancer next to me, because there's no guarantee that we're going to get this job. And most likely I'm going to be next to you again next week and the week after. So even more than the creative team, I just am like, let's have fun, and they're going to pick what they pick. But that camaraderie is definitely not something that other people I've seen prioritize. And that's, you know, again, to each their own. You do art and whatever. Reed.
Hey, Reed.
Love Reed. Wow. Hype. I don't remember what I was saying, but
the camaraderie with your fellow auditionee.
Yeah. We were talking about vibe, like,
right.
I mean, but that's what's interesting. I feel like New York versus LA. Funnily enough, I've actually booked more because I feel like I just trusted more. I just came in there and just did my self-tape or like wiggled around. I auditioned for this one dance for Pose. It was for the West Hollywood Pride Parade. I have never vogued before, ever. And I was like, but I want to do it. And so I was like, I gotta just pretend. So I wore like a tie-dye crop top. I like come in there and I'm just like, you know what I mean? I just
yes, you do.
I just like tried to just be what I in my head a voguer was, and I got it. You know what I mean? And like I was able to learn from people who are extremely amazing voguers. You know, who are that HBO Max show Jamal. He was one of the choreographers of it. But like,
cool.
But that's what's so crazy is like in New York, I'm just going to say it, it's more pretentious. If you come in and they look at you and you don't seem like the exact person they have in mind for a Broadway dancer or a person for that specific show, and they look at your resume and they see you, like, it's just a done deal, you know? Right. But LA, I've had a lot of, I guess you can call it luck, but it's just people see different things, and it's hard to not be affected, but it's true. Like you can be anything and people will ignore it because they don't like your hair, you know?
Ain't that the truth?
I mean, I can't even imagine what it's like being a woman. I mean, most of my female friends in whatever you want to call it, show business, like it's hard. And there's a lot of people whispering in your ear, even people who think that they're giving you advice.
Right.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to just smile and say thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. So kind of going off of that. I mean, something else that you sort of talk about in your bio is the concept of challenging the status quo. So I'm wondering, can you talk about that a little bit? Like, what does challenging the status quo mean to you as an artist?
Have you seen High School Musical? I'm just kidding.
100%.
Just the song. I'll play the song.
Just picture that music video. Okay, got it.
God, I mean, as much as I have really tried to be, like, well behaved. I realized, I think around college when I dropped out, honestly, I was like, I think I'm best when I break the rules and when I don't conform. And that's what's really hard is things like dance, things like performing arts. A lot of, subconsciously on the one side, it was great because I was part of something. At one point, I even identified more as a dancer than like a human. You know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of dancers take pride in that. It's a great community. I love all of the dancers that I've met like along the way. But it was very suffocating at the same time, and like feeling also that like it wasn't just my experience. It was like people. And I don't say this to like toot my own horn, but I had certain teachers and mentors and choreographers, things like that, took a very special interest in me when I was very young, and it put I just don't think I was prepared for that, and especially like I wasn't even prepared. Like, I think the first dance that I did in college, I was cast as the lead and I had to dance shirtless. I actually posted on my Instagram recently. It was called Gigolo. It was an all male number, and when I was doing it, I was so happy and I was so like, oh my God, like this is amazing. And the truth is, when I reflect on my time in college and all the way up until my time now, I have it's been a journey accepting how my other people's image of me has informed basically how I kind of take risks now. And like, I guess I'll just say it, like, I just felt like I was made to think about my body and my sexuality and so many things that I never like thought about before. I just was like, I liked to dance, I liked to perform. I started with acting, and that was what really drove me, because I did physical theater, and that was like, I loved telling stories just like with your bodies. And I was like, okay, cool. And that's what I did in San Diego. And, you know, being in New York, learning Fosse, being introduced to the LGBT nightlife, it was a lot of information to take in. Like, I did everything, you know, and people wanted to oh my God, sorry. So overwhelmed. No, you know, like people I go danced, I did photo shoots. Like I said, I did these like shirtless dances like in college, and it's fine. I was an adult and I was making my own decisions, but I realized I was really subscribing to what other people think dancers do. Dancers are hot, dancers are fit, dancers do these things.
Yeah.
And I really just broke away from that. And I didn't feel like an artist anymore. I felt like a robot. And it was really hard for me to get back to myself and doing my own things like writing and choreographing and all of this other stuff has helped ground me again. But there was a good while where I felt really, like I said, suffocated.
You know, I think that in my experience, the acting industry, and it sounds like it's similar with the dance industry. I'm not as familiar with the dance industry, but it sometimes can feel like a little bit of a catch-22, because you're really encouraged to express your individuality. You know, like we're all trying to like show people who we are and how we are different from that other girl who you could have cast. You know what I mean? But at the same time, there's so many aspects of the industry, which I think are changing now, but there's a lot of aspects that it's like you have to be this way and you have to dress like this when you come into the audition, and you have to like sing this type of song.
And that's, I mean, not to say that it's bad information, but yeah, that's part of what college was like literally teachers saying you have to wear black Lujuka pants and you have to wear a colorful shirt so you catch people's eye. And like, you know, it's as much as I think that's valuable information, especially things like making a reel or, you know, the business side of like what we do. I also think it's like so important that when you graduate school to like kind of like you're saying, like almost unlearn everything and go back to when you trusted your instincts, when you didn't know anything. Something that my dance teacher said in high school that kind of haunted me for a while was, I told her I got into school for dance, and she was like, I don't think you should go. And I was like, I was whiplash. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, of course I'm gonna go, this is great. And she was like, and she was my first dance teacher, and she just kind of was like, I don't know, because I told her it was a commercial training program, and this was a modern teacher, like California hippie, like, and she was just like, I don't think that you're going to come out the artist that you want to be. And it was just like this weird, like haunting, like spell, but it almost did come true. And that's what's so interesting is, you know, I was so attracted to doing things like jazz and being on Broadway and these really like, I don't know, New York was always a fantasy for me. I had like a snow globe of New York when I was little. And I love that. I love all those things still, but it's been a funny journey being like, oh, I've done all of this stuff like fucking Dorothy, and I realized I had everything I needed already. You know, maybe I have a few more credits and maybe I can point my feet a little bit better, but I'm still the same person. I'm still doing the same kind of work, you know. I was choreographing and dancing before I went to college. So it just, you know, if I were to talk to anybody that's like confused of what they are going to do, it's just like, I don't know, like everything's different now. Like You don't have to go to college if you don't want to, and that's okay. That's such a weird thing for me to even accept, because it wasn't like that when I was graduating.
Sure. Yeah, it wasn't like that for where I came from either. I mean, I took a gap year, and even that was like shocked people. And I had people tell me, you know, like if you take a year off, like you're not going to go back to school. So like you shouldn't do it and stuff like that. And that was, I mean, the gap year was needed for me. Like I had some shit to figure out, you know, and I think that's the only way that I sort of like really figured out what I wanted, and it centered me. But yeah, I think you're spot on. And I'm wondering too if that realization that you had maybe affected, you know, your success in LA, because now you're in LA and you're like submitting for stuff, and you mentioned, you know, that you submitted for stuff that you like maybe didn't think you might be right for, and you just went for it and you got it. And I just wonder how that change in mindset for you that you were sort of just talking about maybe affected, you know, the people's reception of you.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's affected everything at this point, because I feel like it's what if you told me like 15 years ago that I would be like singing and dancing and like I wouldn't have believed you. So even just being able to go to and study in New York, being able to choreograph a show at NYU. I actually auditioned for NYU. This is a terrible story. I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's the only audition I've ever walked out of, because I was so like out of my element and scared. Like I'd never taken ballet. Like, you know what I mean? Like I was learning how to dance, watching High School Musical and like Miss Congeniality in my garage when you know what I mean? Like when everyone was asleep, like, so I just felt so like everyone just seemed tall and like buff. And like, I don't know. It just was not the right fit. And I got through every round, but then we were supposed to do a solo. And what's funny is I actually think doing that solo would have probably been a much better introduction to who I am. But regardless, I was very scared, and I didn't finish. I went out to my mom and I was like, let's go, crying like all the way home. But unfortunately, like that's why I went the commercial route, was because the classical route I felt even more out of place, you know? So it's a catch-22. It's like, I remember even my modern teacher, like saying things that like hip hop was inappropriate in school, like when we were in high school, and like just the opinions and like the kind of like the ping pong of like, you know, I remember when like Beyonce music videos were like, well, you can't watch that. And now it's just like kids are just like watching whatever they want on their phones. It's just, I don't know, like I'm not saying anything's right or wrong. It changes a lot. And at this point, I just think like have people around that help you make decisions of what you're comfortable with, because especially when you're young, this is what happened to me. I said yes to a lot of things because I thought that's, you know, I was just lucky to be asked. And so even if
we're encouraged to say yes, right? You know, that's like the whole thing. It's just be open to everything.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know. I'm someone who loves to please people, and I'm very adaptable. I'm a Pisces, and I'm very emotional. And I just like, it's hard for me to say no if I feel like someone is gaining joy, relief, whatever from something that I'm doing. And so that's been the biggest thing for me, is like learning how to say no to a lot of things that, you know, I may partially want to do, but when I really think about it, I'm like, you want me to do this more than I want to do this. So
I mean, that's such an important skill to gain, and it's so hard. And I think like, I mean, I commend you, because it's that Pisces part of you, I think, that makes you so wonderful to work with. I mean, I had an absolute blast working with you. I mean, you're organized, you always show up, you're extremely focused, but then you also have this kind, understanding, you know, like friend air about you. And I just loved that balance that you struck between like, I'm here to work, but like also if you're having a bad day, like, you know, we can talk about it. So I love that about you. And I think, I mean, it's inspiring to me to hear you talk about, you know, learning your boundaries in terms of when to say no, because I think that's really hard as an artist. I struggle with it too.
It is. And especially someone who like now likes to break the rules. Like I feel like a lot of the path that I've been going down, I started experimenting with like dance on film near the end of college. And then Now I'm kind of, when I was on a cruise job, actually, I just had so much time on my hands because once we learned the show and everything, like we would just perform at night, but during the day we would have all day, so, you know, tan, exercise, like that's what I did. I was like, okay, let me get in really good shape. This is 6 months living on a boat. Like I need I can't lose my mind. Because some people do, and some people quit, some people get fired. Some people overdrink. Like it's a really easy place to just be in a spiral of yourself because you're getting paid really well. Regardless, I just had so much like trauma that I never dealt with from my younger years. And so I've never been a writer, and I just started like writing poetry, and then it turned into this like weird like rhythmic poetry. And then I tried to like when I went back to school, I took a verse for the stage class, which is basically like a spoken word class. And so now I'm going down this path of like realizing how much I have worshipped music my entire life, and it's like these two worlds of like dance and like writing are like starting to merge. And so to not act like I'm like a fucking singer-songwriter now, but I'm making an EP right now with my friend who's producing it. And I'm taking 3 of those things. So that's the thing. That's why, you know, as much as this sucks being like, you know, not doing theater and things like that, like I'm pulling out these back files because I wrote this whole thing when I was on the ship, and I've been editing it, just like having it in my back pocket. And now I'm like, I just feel so free. Like I like I said, I felt so suffocated for a while identifying as just a dancer and like things like that. And so I just feel very like I'm ready to do everything and nothing. Like, and it's not even about like having people praise you or pay you. It's just like, what lifestyle as an artist do you want? If you only think of yourself as I do this, for me, that turned into a really boring and like just like unmotivating life. And so I'm going into things I didn't think I would go into, but I think it's exciting for that reason.
Super exciting. I'm excited for you.
Thanks.
Sounds fabulous. So we're almost out of time, but last question.
Okay.
Who is someone that is not in your network that you wish was, and how would you go about getting them into your network?
Darn.
I know.
What's funny is a lot of people who I wanted, I actually reached out to, and now they are in my network. Like I always wanted to work with Alaska Thunderfuck. I did a music video with her. That was extremely special. And then like also Charles Bush, who wrote Psycho Beach Party. It was a play that was turned into a movie. Yeah, he's in the New York community. I did a dance inspired by the movie because I was like, I watched, my friend Andrew showed it to me, and I was like, this is lit. I need to make a dance about it. And I actually reached out to him because I was like, here's the dance. Like, maybe it'll make you laugh. And also I'm kind of interested in maybe like making it a musical. Like, would you be interested? And we had a whole like email thread, and I was just like, whoa, like people are more accessible than you think. There was this film director, Alma Harrell, who directs Beirut's music videos. And I emailed her, was just like, if you ever need a PA, like, I really like your work. Like, I was that girl. And she responded, and she was just like, great, I'll let you know. So, I mean, someone who's like so out of reach, probably that I would want in my network would be like someone like Tim Burton or I'll say Tim Burton.
Yes.
Like he's been an inspiration since I was a kid. Nightmare Before Christmas was like my favorite movie. So I would love to just like talk to him every now and then.
Yeah. Well, that is like, so, I mean, you're blowing my mind because like that's what it's about. Like, you just reached out to these people that you wanted to work with, and you had like an idea or a little project or something that you were working on, and you shared it with them. Yeah. And
like another one, like my favorite band who's from the UK, her name's Rebecca. I just posted so many videos of me dancing to her music, and eventually she responded and like was a fan, and we were emailing, she was sending me demos, and it's just like even not thinking about wanting to connect with her, I did. And so that's what's cool about social media now is like artists want to talk to other artists who are actually inspired by their work. Like, don't be trying to do like these clout chasing things of like follow for follow. Like, just do what is moving you. And usually the person that made that thing, if they're you know, accessible, they will be down for what you're doing, you know?
Yes. That, I mean, I feel like we need to end on that note, because
Yeah.
like that's really, I mean, that's what this show is about. Avenue A, I created it to, you know, learn about networking and also do networking and learn how other people, you know, what their perspective is on how they connect with other artists, because our
Yeah.
industry is all about
Just
connection.
ask. Like literally,
Yeah.
like someone told me that when I was in college. That's how I got my first mentor, Chase Brock. He cast me in the dance, and I literally just sent him one email, and I was like, I loved working with you. If you ever need anything. And then he hired me as an assistant, and then I became an associate for the public theater. So it's like those things don't just happen.
Hell
It
yeah.
starts with just going out on the limb and saying like, this is what I want to do, and like you inspire me, and like,
Yeah.
you know, yeah,
And if they're the people for you, then you know, they reach back. I think that's true.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah. So cool. Well, I'm glad you're doing this.
Wonderful.
Thank you
Thanks.
for asking me.
Oh, thank you for taking the time.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure. It's so nice. I feel like we're hanging out again, and I haven't seen you for like 5 months. So that's
I
exciting.
know. I wish we were back in that rehearsal room. Yeah, that was a
Same.
lot of fun. Oh my god.
For anyone watching, if you want to find Louis online, you can follow his Instagram, the tag Louis. It's just his name, Louis Reyes Chaves, and then also his website. Check it out. You have a great website, by the way. The graphics are
you.
fantastic.
Thank you. I did it on Wix. I just kind of like,
Nice.
yeah. But
Yeah,
thank you.
everyone check out his website. It's very well done. Well, thanks again, Louis. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Kelsey. Have a
See
good
you
day.
later.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye. Ugh. Every Friday, I just get to be like inspired by these amazing artists who are kind enough to come on the show. So that's just really exciting. And I hope that you guys watching got something from it too. Louis has lots of words of wisdom. So yeah, we'll see you next week. Peace out.